quarterly events that we host, and we talk about a different topic each time, along with sometimes different guest speakers. But we've been so fortunate to have Haley do a couple of our last grief talks actually, and she's just wonderful. So you guys are definitely in for a treat tonight having her presenting. So kind of the order of today's agenda, we're just gonna quickly go through some comfort agreements and some house rules. We're gonna go through some introductions, do our check-in, and then we're gonna let Haley take over and give you all the good stuff. And then we're gonna go into our questions and comments. Perfect. So starting with our comfort agreements and our house rules. So we're all here to respect one another. So just please be mindful of others as you share your own experiences, if you do choose to do so, and refrain from passing judgment or shame on others as they share their stories as well. This is a safe space, so everybody is welcome, and questions are definitely encouraged. So if you have any questions, please feel free to ask. Also keep yourself on mute unless you are going to ask a question, just that way it kind of eliminates any potential distractions in the background. So if you did want to ask a question, you're more than welcome to. If you look on the bottom of your screen, there should be somewhere that says, where is it? Oh, I can't see the hands. That's okay. It says reactions, and you could just put a thumbs up, and we'll know that that means that you want to ask a question, or you can just write in the chat your question, or just say, hey, I want to ask a question, and we'll turn the attention over to you, and then you can unmute and ask whatever you'd like to ask. Lastly, cameras are optional. We definitely do encourage it. If you feel comfortable enough to put your camera on, please do, but it's not mandatory if you don't feel comfortable doing so. All right. So just to give you guys a little bit more information about who we are. So we're the Center for Grief and Healing, also known as Bereaved Families of Ontario, Halton Peel. And what we do is we are the bereaved, helping the bereaved learn to live with grief. We empower grieving individuals and families by providing inclusive mutual support programs, fostering hope and healing, and bringing some education to the public to help reduce stigma surrounding grief and bereavement. So I don't know if you guys were able to hear the song fully at the beginning, but it was talking about having a flashlight in times of need and in times when you need support. And here at the center, that's really what our goal is to be that flashlight and to help guide you through your grief journey. So what we kind of do and what we offer are a bunch of free supports in the forms of one-to-one supports, grief support groups. And, you know, we've had to make a lot of changes and adaptations over the past, let's say, 7 months. I've lost track at this point since COVID has started, and we're currently all online. So we're doing all of our one-to-ones over the phone or through Zoom, and then we're running all of our groups online as well. So a little bit of changes, but we're still providing all the same great supports that we were providing beforehand.
Oh, sorry.
That's okay. That's all good. So just to give you a little more info about what we offer for those of you that maybe haven't accessed our services before. So we offer individual one-to-one support sessions for anyone ages 6 and up. And we do this on the phone or through Zoom, whatever your preference would be. And then we also have a number of groups, kind of depending on the type of loss someone's experienced. So we have a weekly mixed loss group that runs every single Tuesday evening, and that's for anyone with any type of loss. And then we have a child loss group that runs bi-weekly on Wednesdays from the same time, and that's for anyone who's lost a child. And then lastly, we have our partner loss group, so anyone who's lost a partner, a spouse, whoever it might be, and that runs on the alternate Wednesdays to the child loss group from the same time. And then lastly, we have our Navigating Through Grief, which is essentially an educational workshop where we go out into the community and we do some of that educational aspect that I was talking about at the beginning to kind of reduce stigma and just promote awareness about grief and teach people what grief is, how can you support other people, and kind of normalize grief and what it looks like. Perfect. So this is our team. We're a small team, but we're mighty for sure. So we have Andrea, our executive director. We have myself, and I'm the program manager. We have Victoria Berry, who's here too on the call, and she is our volunteer coordinator. And then we have our newest member, Irish, who wasn't able to join us tonight, but she is our outreach team. So these are the faces of the center, for sure. So we're going to start with a little bit of a check-in before we go on to introduce Haley. So you can feel free to kind of write your answer in the chat box. You can put that thumbs up and we can turn the attention to you. But just so Haley can get a better idea of who you guys are and what we're working with today, is the question is, what is the biggest change to your normal? So since your loved ones passed away, what's been one of the biggest changes to your normal routine?
We ask only because it's my promise to make sure we tailor some of tonight's information specifically for what you or your family are going through. So you don't have to share, but if you do, I promise to answer that head on as we go through our evening together.
Anger, for sure. I'm not too sure, Haley, if you can see the chat box, so I'll read them out just in case. Yeah. Absolutely.
And from our panel of supporters, do you ladies want to share what was the biggest change to your normals?
For sure. Yeah, absolutely. I could go first. I think a big change to my normal when my friend passed away in high school would just be like a change to just not seeing that person every day anymore. Like that was a huge change. You're so used to seeing that person, talking with that person, having that person around. So not being able to communicate that with them anymore and get a response back, that was a really difficult change for me to deal with, for sure.
Yeah, and I would echo that. I think, well, you know, aside from the obvious answer that everything, but outside of that, it's the holidays and the big ones, right? The Christmas, the Easters, and how that changes for. It's just different when you're missing that loved one, for sure.
Yeah. So.
Yeah, and exact same thing. I'll mirror what Andrea and Julia had said. In terms of COVID, the only challenge that I've perceived was the actual physical support that you can receive from others, whether that be just a hug, pat on the back, even just being able to be in their space, just maintaining that 6 feet difference. And it's been a challenge in that regard, not being able to have that physical intimacy with other individuals, let alone even being able to go see them in the first half of COVID when it did come about.
Absolutely. And just to read out a couple of these that are in the chat box here, we have the need to refocus at work, so challenging with focus, absolutely. And then Deborah says here, losing her daughter, right? It's been 4 years and we missed everything. Absolutely. Absolutely. And then we have Angela and Donna here that said not having her there anymore to talk to or to be with. And that was for her grandma / her mom. Absolutely. Thank you all for sharing. Absolutely. And I know Haley will definitely incorporate these into her talk, like she said.
Absolutely. I've written them down without names for your privacy. So just to make sure that I cover the topics as we go. And my heart goes out to each of you. And I don't know how recent some of your losses are, but certainly COVID amplifies that for families.
So now to introduce Haley. So Haley is your true happiness coach and marriage mentor. So she was named the world's happiest woman, and I could definitely agree with that. And she was awarded as the Woman of Resilience and the world's best marriage mentor. So she has spoken for over 1 million audience members and has coached over 20,000 students in 136 different countries. She is a master speaker and facilitator. She's also an award-winning author, with 3 international best-selling books, and her 4th book, Happy Love, is out now, which I'm sure she will talk about later, which is super exciting. So Haley has overcome more than 30 years of trauma. And this trauma has taught Haley how to bounce back, create happiness, love, and success rapidly. no matter what challenges are present. And she has dedicated her life to helping others achieve their true happiness, love, and success. As a happily married mom of three, Haley works with entrepreneurs, families, organizations, and couples. She's been featured on multiple media, including 3 recent appearances on Cogeco News, but you are more than likely to see her hiking, biking, and out in nature with her family. And I second all these things. Haley is honestly a pleasure to work with. So I really hope you guys can learn from her today, because I know personally I have learned so much from her in the past. So we're so grateful to have her here and have her with us today.
Thank you so much, Julia. I'm going to share my screen.
Go ahead.
Just a sec.
Thank goodness we can get rid of those blue lines.
Okay. Let me just move our little window here.
Andrea, I think you have to stop sharing your screen so that way Haley's pops up.
There you go.
There we go. Perfect.
There we go. All right, friends, are you able to see my slides? Okay. Before we even get started tonight, I want to thank each of you for being here. Those of you that are playing a supportive role in our grief community, who have walked the walk of experiencing your own grief and loss and have gone through the stages of grief, so much so that you now spend a large portion of your life helping others to do the same. And that's why I love that song, The Flashlight, because I think only those of us who have spent sufficient time in the dark can know and appreciate what it's like to be there. And when we can turn our own light back on and magnify that light, it is just the most meaningful thing we can do to go and shine that flashlight for other people and help them walk out of their dark. So thank you to all our amazing supports who are here. And also to those of you that are joining from the community who are in need of support. Thank you for being brave enough to say yes to your own healing and to say yes to showing up this evening. There are many things that are available to help when you're in the tremendous pain of missing someone you love, and not everyone is ready enough, willing enough, brave enough to show up and accept that support. So thank you to saying yes to yourself to be here this evening. And I promise to stay with you until the very last question is answered and give you my personal phone number if there's an after question that comes up, so that if you are in any way in an emotional space later this evening or tomorrow, you have a direct line of support. So we will begin. And before we jump into the slides, I'll just share one last thing. The reason I do this work of helping to spread joy in the world is I am certainly not a stranger to the pain. And tonight is not about me, it is for you, but I'll just share a tiny bit so that you know I understand. All trauma has a massive impact in our life. And while my traumas and your trauma may be different, healing can be similar. And after experiencing many adversities in my own life, including a childhood that was very challenging, 8 years of depression, 2 childhood suicide attempts, a very violent attack at 17 that led to cervical cancer, and multiple reconstructive surgeries, I understand what it is like to wonder, why me? Why you? And to claw your way back out of that very low and dark place and come back to even surviving it and then thriving from it. And that's why tonight's talk, well, it's about finding your new normal. I changed the title to Designing Your New Abnormal. And let's get started. I've noticed in my work with clients that there are 6 stages of grief we move through. And designing your new normal doesn't come until near the end. So if you're at a place right now where you're not even ready to embrace the concept of creating normal again, that's okay. It's actually normal not to be there yet. So these are not official stages, but these are the statistics that I notice my clients move through. And the first stage is that of it shouldn't be this way. There's complete emotional breakdown. Anger is very normal at this stage, and I'll define them further on the next slide. In the next stage, clients start to accept that it had to be this way, but struggle to know why. They then move to a place where they have a desire to survive this. They're starting to lean into healing, starting to say yes to accepting help and support, and they're searching for meaning as to why did this happen. Then they get to a place where they don't just want to survive the trauma of this loss and grieving the loss, they actually have a desire to thrive. They ask themselves questions, and you might be asking yourself this right now: how can I pivot from this massive trauma? How can I pivot positively? How can you make yourself proud of the choices you make from now on? How can you make the person who you're missing proud of the choices you make from now on? And how can you live your life in tribute to them? Or how can you pick up the torch that they've left to you? In the fifth stage is when clients start to become ready to design their life. There's a very big difference when we are first traumatized and grief is a trauma. It is not something that you have control over what has already happened, but you do get a say in what you do next about it. And designing your new normal is what we're going to focus on tonight. And I'll interplay the words of normal, abnormal, and neither one of them matter. It's really designing your reality from here on out to be the best it possibly can. You always deserved a wonderful life, but now especially you deserve a better life. A, because of what you've gone through, and B, because you've got a whole lot of life to live for you and for the person that's not here anymore to live it. So you deserve an exceptional life. And finally, what I notice my clients pass through as their final stage of grief, after they've designed their new normal or abnormal, they actually get to a place where they like their life again. They even get to a place where they love their life again. And many of them have gotten to a place where they like their new life even better, which seems so unfathomable, even better than the one they had before when they got to share it with the person or people that they're missing. Let's just go into a little bit more detail. If you're feeling like it shouldn't be this way, this is where we see a lot of anger, shock, sadness, resistance to what is, and a strong attachment to what was lost. And all of those are absolutely healthy and normal and expected. In this stage, when you start to accept that it had to be this way, but you don't know why, going through that acceptance of what is doesn't eliminate the frustration of not knowing why. And depending on what your spiritual or religious beliefs are or are not, some of us have different structures we can lean back on when we're searching for meaning. Others don't have that structure and they look for the reasons. I'll give you the best example of this that I know, which is if a couple has been dealing with infertility or has brought a stillborn child into the world, they don't ever get to know the reason why it had to happen until they hold their next child in their arms. And we won't always get to know the answers, but it's okay for your mind to wonder as to why something might have been removed from your life to make space for something new to come in. At this stage, we see a willingness to work at healing, saying yes to events like tonight, saying yes to support. Once you have a desire to truly survive from what's happening and you are continuing your search for meaning, you're likely to be more actively working on your healing, doing all you can to get through this and to move through all of the stages as they come up. Definitely seeking more support and also having a healthy relationship with your emotions, allowing your emotions to rise up, to flow, to be processed. There are stages of shock and resistance where we want to push all those emotions down. And some of my mentors say the issues are in the tissues. And so we believe it's not healthy to hold the feelings in. At this stage, it's still beautiful to let all those emotions rise and be released. You might be pondering possible meanings for why this is happening and taking it one step at a time. There's a line that gets crossed between step 3 and 4. It's a really powerful line as part of the healing journey. And that's where you desire to do more than survive the loss of your loved one. You desire to thrive again in your own life. You desire to pivot positively, to go upwards from here, maybe choosing a new direction, improving the direction you were going in, but to significantly have this scar on your life be a positive catalyst for change. You might ask questions like, what can I make of this? continuing to seek support, searching for what good can come from this. Who can you become? What else can you do because of what you've been going through? Searching for how you can make your own life better. And you might at this stage be considering legacy or tribute projects in honor of the person you so love and you so miss. And now we get on to today's subject, which is designing your new normal or abnormal, or your new reality. At this stage, it's wonderful to make schedule changes and amp up your self-care in a big way. This is the time to commit to your own personal growth, improve your own health. Oftentimes when we've lost someone, you may have been providing as a caregiver for that person, and the absence of them in your life, while a tremendous emotional wound, also avails you time that you didn't have before. You can now focus on your own healing. This is a time to focus on building your legacy and tribute projects, which I'll explain a little bit more as we go on. A famous example of a legacy project is MAD, Mothers Against Drunk Driving. That project was started by a mom who lost a loved one by drunk driving. And by creating a legacy or tribute project, this does not eliminate the pain, but it increases your purpose. And when you can increase your purpose, when your own pilot light has a reason to turn on every morning, you start to look at what has happened and you get to start to see that reason in the world. Nothing will bring back that child for that mom. But if she can save thousands, hundreds of thousands, or millions of other children from the legacy project, she can actually see that there is a meaning to it and her life has a new purpose. Of course, making the best of your new reality and the main focus at this stage, rather than working to replace what was lost, we want to focus on what can you add to your life to enrich it in wonderful ways. And in the final stage, it might be hard to imagine right now, but you can get to a place where you can tolerate, like, and even love your new normal. Living in the new normal, making the best of it, at least being okay with it, loving those things that you have added to enrich your life in new ways, becoming a better version of yourself. And my friends, my wish for you is to help you find again joy, peace, sleeping at night, love, fun again, all of the things that have been impacted by this person that you so care about and you so miss. True healing comes in the moment that you would not go back and change your history, even if you could. When you have made your life after loss as good and in new ways, and maybe even better than it was before. Until that time, you feel the missing and the void. And tonight is all about not helping you fill that void, but helping you overfill all the other cups in your life. I'm going to teach you exactly how to do that. When we go through loss, here's some other things to keep in mind. There are projects that you can occupy your new normal with that are worthy of both the effort of your life and they're worthy of that person's life and legacy. Here are just a few on the short list that many of my clients have taken on, and it's given them a great sense of joy and purpose and assisted in their healing. It's given them a reason to like or love their new normal, even just a bit. First one, for this person or people that you miss, think of those things in their life that they started and didn't finish. Can you complete it for them? One of my dear clients lost her 17-year-old son in December. He was taken by gunfire. He was an innocent bystander and he caught a stray bullet. And he so badly wanted to finish high school. When I started working with his mom and we were looking for what the right legacy project was for her to build her new normal, we thought nothing would make Jordan more proud than for his mom to carry the torch and finish high school, especially because mom had never finished high school for herself. So she made a commitment while we were working together. She went back to school. She has been completing her secondary school credits in her 50s. And it's such a beautiful way for Jordan, her son, to leave a positive mark on the world. Because of his memory, mom finishes school for him and for her, completing a life dream that she never thought she'd give herself time to. The next thing to think about are, what are those projects that your loved one wanted to start but never got to? And maybe you can be the one that carries that torch. What about doing some of the things that they loved to do? And supporting the causes that are either near and dear to their heart or near and dear to yours. Here are some ways that you can keep memories alive in a positive way. And I just want to put a disclaimer. For different people and at different stages of grief, some of these activities are a beautiful way to stay close and connected to your loved ones. On other days, they're too emotionally painful. On other days, they're too much of a reminder. So you're going to want to be your own wise guide and trust yourself, trust your body to give you those clues and let you know if it's right for you or if it's too emotional for you. Here are some of the ideas that work if you want to keep that person close, their memories close. See how often you can weave into your life their favorite place, meal, music, or show. Many of my clients walk the bus route that their teenagers would have walked if they were still here. Some of my clients drive the corporate commute that their spouse used to drive when they were still here. Some of my clients drove to the hometowns of their grandparents who used to be here. And so see what feels good for you. Do any of the things that they would love to see you do. You don't need to live your life to make someone else proud, but there's nothing wrong with making choices you're proud of, knowing that someone may be smiling down on you. Do what would make them happy for you. Never, ever has a person who's passed on wished for their loved ones who are right here to be in pain, stop the life, cry all the time, stop having fun, stop making memories. If ever you could communicate with your lost loved ones, they would want you to be happy. They would want you to be okay. They would want you to take better care of yourself than you did before. They would want you to shift your focus back onto yourself and to make a great life in all the ways that they can't. Some clients have found it helpful to choose one day of the week and dedicate it to their lost loved one. Eat their favorite breakfast, their favorite lunch, their favorite supper. Do something that keeps you close to the memory of that person. Or even just one meal or activity in the week where you can talk to them. I have a client, oh, somebody's in the waiting room, ladies, I'll just admit. You got her? Okay, thank you. I have a client who has breakfast every Sunday and talks to her husband. She makes his favorite meal. She sets two places at the table. She has a conversation with him. She shares all the things that she wished she could update him about her week and how things are going for her. So choose whatever rituals feel special for you, but also feel positive. It's okay to cry when you're doing something that's positive. There's a difference between weeping tears over memories and emotional pain that you can't be with. So only choose those activities that help you feel close and connected in ways that you want to. And most importantly for yourself, schedule a drop of joy every single day to keep the depression away. Just as they say, an apple a day keeps the doctor away, we all need things in our schedule to look forward to. In my case, as a survivor of depression and suicide, in order for me to keep my own depression at bay, every day I create for myself what is my look forward to. And I say it to my kids before we go into a new day. I say, when you come home, here's what we can look forward to. It gives everyone the strength to get through the day. So no matter who you've lost or what you're going through, you deserve and you need something to look forward to every day. You would benefit from something a little bigger to look forward to every weekend, something a little bigger to look forward to every month. And this, as a strategy, can help get you through some of those tougher moments. And here's one that I just love. I know that some of you on the line have suffered the traumatic loss of a child. One of my clients wrote a lessons from heaven. She wrote all the things that her deceased child taught her about life, love, boys, girls, and the world while they were here. And by putting all of those lessons, all of those beautiful nuggets of wisdom into a book, she's able to remember that this person's life has not just gone without leaving its mark. It leaves a positive mark. The more you can share the ahas or the nuggets of wisdom from your little person or your older person, the more you keep their memory alive. Let's move on now in how to actually design your new reality so that it can be more than survival mode, but we can actually get you into that place of feeling like you could thrive through the loss and after the loss. And I'm just going to check in with Julia and Victoria and Andrea. Ladies, you're okay for sound on your side? Awesome, excellent. I'm not in the chat box, so just flag me down if something comes up. So my friends, the ideal life design method. And let me just double check. Andrea, are you still in record mode? Just give me a thumbs up.
I am. Yeah, I am.
You are. So I'm not doing it on my end. Okay.
I think Julia and I are both, yeah.
Okay.
It's recording. Yeah, I can see it's recording here.
I won't do it on my end. All right, my friends. So the ideal life design method, I'm going to share with you how we can move through the first 2 steps during tonight's workshop. These are 2 steps that you can do independently. I believe in you to be able to do them. And I will also give you all the ways to reach out to me so I can send you any of the support documents and answer any of the questions you have. The first step in designing your new normal is to take inventory of life as it is at the moment. In the next few slides, I'll share what the 12 personal happiness areas of life are. And I'll also share what the 16 areas are of a healthy relationship. I know some of you have lost your partner, and so the personal happiness areas are going to be so important. Some of you are an existing couple who've lost a child. So looking at the 16 marriage areas will be so beneficial. The first step in creating change for yourself is deciding to. And we always want to start before figuring out what you want to do next and where you want to go. We've got to get an understanding of where you're starting from. Taking inventory is as simple as answering the question, how happy and fulfilled am I with this area of my life right now? And I'll pull those areas up in just a moment. From there, you want to design what would be ideal. Where do you want to go from here? So if your sleep is a mess right now, if you have nightmares, if you're being impacted by PTSD, if the grief is making it difficult for you to get rest or to eat, we are going to start from how it is now, and then we're going to explore how would you rather it be. In the third step, we want to start to eliminate the roadblocks or the barriers to you getting what you want, which is having a life of happy again, of healthy again, having a life where you're glad to be alive again. Then you build an action plan, and finally you live it, and you do get to a place where you can love it. I just wanted to remind you that it doesn't take big overhauls. Designing your new normal or your new abnormal and making your current reality improved, it's a collection of tiny tweaks. Tiny tweaks done daily over time lead to massive results. If you think of it like a rocket ship, if a rocket ship takes off and its trajectory is like this, and if we just bring it a millimeter off course, over time that rocket's going to end up in very different places. So it doesn't take big things to adjust your course. Tiny tweaks are enough. So here's how we design your new abnormal. I'll pull up in a moment what the happiness areas are, and we're going to look at what they are for you. You will notice that some of the life categories have been significantly impacted by your loss. How to really win at building yourself a wonderful new reality is to overfill the other areas of your life that you can have an impact on. Take inventory of how you feel in the moment. Choose the most meaningful areas that you can control, you can influence, or you can enhance. Make those your happiness projects, and I'll explain in a moment. And for your happiness projects, I'd love for you to answer the questions that I'm about to put up. And if you're stuck working through the questions, working through these areas of happiness in your life, one of the 3 gifts that I always love to give is a complimentary happiness session. And I'm happy to take you through this exercise one-to-one in a private confidential session where we'll look at these areas for you. We'll look at how they are now and how you'd rather they be and how we can get you there. Just for your information, here are the personal happiness areas. Health and body, your family and friends, your finances, your career, your personal growth, your mental health, your sleep, energy, vibration, your home life and location, your sense of connection or your love life, your sense of fun and adventure, and your sense of having a life of purpose and knowing what your life purpose is. These are the very areas that you want to take inventory of how they are at the moment. For example, if you have recently experienced loss of a partner, of course, your love life and connection is dramatically impacted. So what can we do in the other areas of your life to overfill those cups for you so that we can recreate in new ways positive shifts in your life? For those of you that are in a relationship and have lost either a parent, somebody dear to you, or a child, these are the 16 parts of a healthy relationship. And while some might be hurting through your loss, we'll work on what we can do to enhance your experience in all the other areas. Those areas include appreciation, trust, respect, resiliency, peace and closure, forgiveness, sex, intimacy and romance, finances, love and kindness, division of labor, spousal health, attraction, parenting, communication, and fun. And for Deborah, who was kind enough to post in the chat when we were asking what the biggest change was to your new normal, losing a child 4 years ago and missing everything. If you're in a relationship, we can look at what are all the other parts of that relationship that we can work to bolster, we can work to enhance, because we can never replace something that's irreplaceable. All we can do is add in so much more into your life because you deserve to have that joy again. And here, my friends, are the 5 questions to ask yourself when you want to go from the painful state that you're in now to enjoying or improving your new normal. I will, as I go through them, I highly suggest taking a screenshot because these 5 questions are in fact the way for you to be your own coach. These are the questions that can move you through any life area and go from where you are right now and help you get closer to where you want to go. The first question is, how is it now? And this is where all the emotions are allowed to come out. The second question, how would you rather it be if you could make it better? So we want to focus on areas that you do have some control or influence over. So for example, if somebody says, I miss my grandma, how would I rather it be? I would rather she be back here. That's an impossible paradox to work through because we don't have that control. But if we say, how is it now? I miss my grandma. I don't get to do all the fun things we used to do. I don't have someone who's like my best friend to talk to. I don't get to. When we start to explore question 2 of how would you rather it be, we want to choose something that's actually possible for you. I would love to bring more connections into my life that I could make memories with since I can't make them with grandma. I would love to have a deeper connection with a best friend so that I can talk to them in a way that I used to talk to grandma. I would love to be able to learn to cook so that I could bake in the ways that grandma used to bake. It's so important for your healing, my friends, to choose projects that are possible for you. Question number 3 is, what can be done about it? What could you do to move yourself from the reality you're feeling at the moment to a better normal for yourself? Out of all the ideas that come up, which of them are you willing to do something about? And if you're stuck here, that's a great time to reach out for support in case you can't see from within the fishbowl what might be a great opportunity for you. And finally, the most important question as you go to create your new normal, abnormal, or enhance your reality is, what will you do about it in the next 24 hours? What's that one tiny tweak? How could you do a little bit more in healing just tomorrow? How could you get a little bit more nature just tomorrow? How could you get a little bit more out into your journal just tomorrow? How could you have a little more connection in your life just tomorrow? Focusing on just the next day allows you to put one foot in front of the other without overwhelm. Also, focus on who you're going to be about it, and I'll explain. There's things you do like exercise, drink water, eat healthy, call a therapist, attend a support group. These are actions. But there are ways of being that support you underneath your actions, like your MO or your modus operandus. And for all of you that showed up tonight, one of your ways of being in your grief journey is committed to your own healing, honoring yourself and practicing self-care. It might mean that you took on a way of being as vulnerable by showing up. It might mean that you took on a way of being strong, that you showed up. Whatever those words are, consider every day in your healing, there's at least one thing you could do to improve your current normal, and there's at least one way you could be that would assist you along the way. I'm going to ask you to repeat this mantra after me. And so if you're on mute, shout it loud and proud in your backyard or living room. This is the promise that I make to myself every night before I go to bed. I think about my own current reality, and like all of you, there are challenges in it. And my current challenges might be different than yours, or they might be similar. Some of those challenges include raising 3 children, 2 of which have lots of initials after their name. Our littlest boy has a genetic condition that has a long list of unknowns, as we're on a wait list for sick kids. And my middle one is still recovering from a traumatic brain injury 10 months ago that has dramatically shifted who and how he is. My eldest struggles with mental health and a long list of other challenges that make school and his social life a challenge for him. My husband lost his job 6 years ago when I was pregnant, and I became our sole provider, and he became a stay-at-home dad. During COVID, we lost his Nana, who was his best friend, who was there for him, and he loved her like a mother. And of course, we couldn't visit her. We couldn't say goodbye to her. We couldn't hug anyone when we buried her. We couldn't hold family members as we all stood there crying. And so my losses and my challenges might be different than yours, but I know loss and I know struggle, and I know that you, me, we can overcome it if we play an active role in our own healing. So this is the little mantra I say to myself before bed when I'm sitting in my current reality and desiring an improvement to my reality. If I want to make my normal better, I say to myself, and please repeat after me, I promise when I wake up tomorrow to do the things and to be the ways that make my life better. Each of you have the opportunity to play a role as a co-creator of your life from this moment forward. And while none of us on this call possess the power to bring people back, we each possess the power to bring our own selves forward in motion, forward in action, forward in healing, forward in love, forward in health, forward in joy. But it's not going to happen automatically. It is a conscious decision to heal. It is a conscious decision to build your life back up and make it sweet again. And it is a conscious decision that many struggle with how to do it, or even having the survival's guilt of if it's okay to do it. Soon we're going to get into the Q&A, and one of the questions that came through really touched my heart. It came from a mom who thought that she wasn't doing her daughter justice if she moved on. And so we're going to talk about just how much your loved ones want you to move on and thrive. If they could talk to you, and depending on your spiritual beliefs, some of them might be talking to you, they would absolutely want you to be supported, successful, thrive, and move on. Here are a few ideas, friends, of what you could do to enhance your new reality. This reality where you do have someone or some people that you love and miss dearly, but there's still a lot of life left for you to live. The first thing is to rejig your schedule and reallocate how you spend your time. This list is in the order of importance. The most important thing for you to schedule in your calendar from now on is yourself. Take care of yourself physically and emotionally before you say yes to any other commitments. The second most important thing for you to do is to nourish your heart and stay connected. Whether that means being connected to your platonic friends, your community at large, or your support community, or if you have a romantic partner, being connected to that. It is so important that you're able to access all of the beautiful hormones that your heart can give you and that you stay connected. Isolation causes the greatest risk to depression and addiction, and COVID hasn't helped. And so it is so important that you nourish your connections. Number 3, make time in your life as a priority for your happiness. Plan joy for yourself every day. What I shared earlier about having that thing to look forward to, plan it into your schedule. And it doesn't have to be expensive, and it doesn't have to be outlandish. For me, planning joy looks like, are we taking a bike ride? Are we doing a hike? Are we going for a walk? Are we doing a picnic? Are we baking something? Are we having a novel meal, like decorate your own gluten-free pizza or make your own lettuce wrapped tacos? It can be anything that you deem special that you can look forward to. Number 4, block time for your work or your passion project in this world, whatever it is that has you feel like you have your purpose. Number 5, allocate white space. White space is the time in your calendar that's got nothing in it, and it is sacred. It's the flex time because stuff happens, life happens, and you're going to need to wiggle things around. And lastly, make time for your responsibilities and chores that make you want to roll your eyes. And now more than ever, my friends, you don't need permission from me. Your permission button is right inside of you. But if you were waiting for permission, I officially give you permission to hire out, delegate, and ask for help because you deserve it. You deserve, while you're going through your grief journey, to have all of your resources to focus on your healing. And if there was ever a time to hire support for cleaning, cooking, laundry, driving, carpooling, whatever it is absolutely okay so that we can get you through your healing journey. Here are some ways that you can embrace a different way of looking forward in your life after loss. We talked earlier about some legacy or tribute projects, things you could do that would have been meaningful to your lost loved one. But what about your own projects that never got fulfilled? Now's the time to do what you never got to do while you were perhaps focused on being a caregiver. Sometimes death comes out of nowhere and we lose somebody in an instant. We have a very dear friend who was pregnant last summer with her second child. She was about 4 months pregnant and her husband went to soccer, had a heart attack, and never came home. And we've been there for her as she went through delivering her newborn, going through raising 2 kids as a single mom, and she had no planning. So she can't look at his passing and say, oh, well, since I took care of him for 3 years, now I can get my life back. That was very different for her. And if your loss is sudden, number 1 will apply a lot less to you. But for those of you that were a caregiver, caring for a sick child or parent or friend or family member, what are all the things you can now reallocate those hours to? I know you dearly miss your person, and I am so sorry that they aren't with you in your life right now. But I am thankful for you that you get to claim those hours back. And what can you do for you? What would light you up that you can use what used to be your caregiver hours on taking care of yourself? It is not selfish to take care of yourself. The most generous thing you can do for this world is fill your own cup so much that it is spilling over, and you have a ton of love and kindness and joy and abundance to share with the world around you. It's why I do what I do. Filling my own cup is so essential, so it's full enough that I can share that energy with all of you, and I encourage you to do the same for yourself. Number 2, say yes to your own bucket list. You've witnessed loss firsthand, and that person might have lived a long, good life, or maybe they were very young, and you know just how short our time might be. So I encourage you to stop living a bucket list like something to do before you die, and start looking at your bucket list as something to do since you're alive. Don't wait. These are things that you deserve to do now, and if you can't afford the version you've always wanted to, let's say on your bucket list you want to go to Bali. Well, it's COVID and you're probably not flying to Bali, and you might not have the budget to fly to Bali. How else can you create a Bali-like experience in your life? Maybe you're going to go for a certain meal, or go for a certain yoga or meditation class, or maybe you're going to get some new decor in your home so you feel like you have a Bali room. There are ways for you to create a version of the experience you want, and do it now, my friends. While you crave making memories with those that you miss, this is an important time to make new memories with others you care about, others who are here. One of the dangers of grief is that we spend so much time missing the person or people that aren't here. We can risk overlooking the people who are here. especially if there are other children, especially if there are other friends, especially if there are other grandparents. So remember that whoever it is that you're missing, all that love you have for them, how can you channel that into making memories with the people that are here to make them with you? Number 4, fall in love with yourself all over again. Have your Eat, Pray, Love year now as part of your grief journey. Do your personal growth, rediscover who you are, rediscover what you like and don't like, and learn and pursue new things. And finally, get into the best mental and physical shape of your life. One of the gifts that you might get left with after trauma is when it shakes you to your core and reduces you to ashes, you get a chance to rebuild. I can't tell you how many people I have supported as clients, or I know in my personal life, who are beacons of health and emotional well-being. And before they lost their loved one, they battled obesity, they battled addiction, they battled depression. And because of the loss they went through, when they were reduced to their ashes, they decided to rebuild the absolute best version of themselves. Does that bring back their loved one? No. Does it fill the void of the person they miss? No. But it sure makes the rest of their life a whole lot better than it would have been if they hadn't made those changes personally. My screen is frozen. There we go. Always remember, my friends, adversity comes with 2 options and you get to choose. You get to choose in your grieving. Is this trauma of loss, is it going to break you or is it going to make you? Is this going to be the thing from which you choose to never recover? Or is this going to be the thing from which you decide to take your life only upwards from here? If this adversity is here to make you, and I trust that it is, to make your life better, to make you better, to make the world better, then now is a great time for you to choose the how. While you can't control what has already happened, you sure do get a say in what you do next about it. And it is so important that you choose well, because you truly deserve a life of happiness. You always have, but now with what you've gone through, you especially deserve a life with even more happiness. Now more than ever, the job has become yours to create that life for yourself, that good life again for yourself. Fill your own happiness cup. And here's why I believe in you to do it. I know what it was like to go through this process. I'll use a small example of break you or make you. When I was 17 and I was violently raped, I had to decide if I was going to remain broken and victimized for the rest of my life. I have scars. I have a good story to tell. People would feel sorry for me. They would feel like I have a right to never recover from something so awful. And that was one of the choices. The other choice, and the choice that I took on, was that that event didn't happen to break me. That event happened to make me. And if we go back a slide, I got to choose the how. I chose, as a survivor of sexual violence, to become a helper for victims of sexual violence. I chose, as a survivor of suicide attempts, to be a helper for those who are dealing with depression and suicide. I chose, as a victim of abuse and a sufferer of 8 years of depression and eating disorders, to help those who are suffering in the same way. So you, my friend, get a choice, not on what's already happened, not on who you've already lost, but you get a choice on who you want to become now because of it. I know that it doesn't bring them back for your story to inspire others, but it gives you a life purpose again, especially if your life purpose was loving your daughter or loving your spouse or loving your best friend. And now that person isn't here physically for you to love, you need a second life purpose. And you can invent one specifically because of what you've gone through. And so we wanted to share some of the wonderful questions that were sent in by some of the participants before tonight. I'm going to answer these right now. Then we'll address what anyone's put in the chat. And we're going to spend most of the rest of our time just having an open discussion. One gentleman wrote in and he said, I can't seem to do the things that my wife and I used to do enjoying together, as it brings me too much pain. He asked, is this normal? I want to continue to do these things, but I just find it too difficult. My message to you, sir, if you are joining us live tonight or listening on the playback recording, is see if you can find ways to make those old activities new again. See if there's a way for you to do the same thing at a different place. I'll use salsa dancing, for example. Many couples who have lost a spouse can't hear a certain kind of music, or want to go dancing but can't go dancing, or want to eat their favorite kind of food and it always brings up a memory. If you're finding it too emotionally painful to do the same thing, what could you do that is a similar but different thing? Ultimately, when you're experiencing the emotions of doing those things that are painful, please do not take a big gulp, swallow, and push the emotions down. Please trust that those emotions are coming to you as a sign that there's more healing to do, and it's healthy to have the healing show up. So if the emotions are coming, let them rise, let them be, and let them release. It is very damaging to your physical and emotional health to try to suppress them and push them down. One of the ladies wrote in and she asked, how do I create a new normal without feeling guilty? My whole life was based around my daughter, and now that she's not here, I can't even fathom what normal is or would look like, and I feel like I'm not honoring her by going back to normal. As I said earlier in the presentation, friends, and this applies to all of you, depending on what you believed in, if your loved ones could talk to you, and some of you do, I imagine, communicate with your loved ones, never ever would they say to you, please don't move on. Never ever would they wish for you to stop your life because they're not here. Every single spirit who has passed on, for those people who are able to communicate with them, every message ever given is, he or she wants you to be happy. He or she wants to know that you're okay. He or she wants to see you go for that promotion that you've been afraid to take. He or she says, say yes to that trip. Say yes to love. Say yes to joy. There's never a loved one who you've lost, who's worthy of your love, that would want you to put your life on pause because they're gone. It would be their absolute wish for you, and not their dying wish, but their after passing wish, that you go on to create the best life possible. So to this mom who sent in the question, the most wonderful thing you could do to honor your daughter is carry her torch. All the things you pictured for her in her life, all the things she pictured for herself in her life if she was old enough to do that. Live fully, live doubly, live for you and for her. This isn't a time to slow down your own life and diminish your normal. This is a time to enhance your normal. Another gentleman wrote in and he said that his dad passed 6 months ago and he's trying to keep a normal routine for the children as they were so close with their grandfather. He asks, how do I keep this normal routine while still keeping my dad's memory alive? And for you, sir, I've got a funny answer. I don't know how quirky you are, but I'm hoping you have at least a cap, a jacket, a scarf, or a button of your dad's. And I trust that you do because you were that close to him and he was that close to your children. My encouragement to you is to choose a time in the week, once, twice, whatever feels right for you, and to be grandpa. And if you could put on grandpa's cap and tell the kids, Dad's going to do grandpa for you tonight. Be like him in the ways that your kids love to spend time with him. So if that meant later bedtimes, more sugar, telling inappropriate ghost stories, whatever it was that your dad did that your children so enjoyed, do those things because your kids love it. It keeps the memory of your dad alive. And while it might be very emotional for you, it's okay for your kids to see you sad. It's okay for your kids to see you cry. It's okay for your kids to see you struggle while you attempt to do something positive, and not every attempt of it may go perfectly. But my encouragement would be keep his memory alive in all the ways you're willing to that are joyful for the kids. And finally, one of the other questions we got, this was from a lady who says, how do I know if I'm ready to find a new normal? I feel like I'm stuck and I want to move forward, but thinking about a new normal is just too overwhelming. To you, my dear, the good news and the bad news is you are already in one. None of us got a say in how this new reality just dropped into our lives, not having this person or people that we so wish were here. And so since you are already in a new normal or abnormal, we might as well make it wonderful for you. And rather than being overwhelmed by the thought of building out a new normal and overhauling your life, remember what was shared earlier, just tiny tweaks. What's one small way you could be a bit more joyful, or do a bit more self-care, or get a bit more nature tomorrow? What's one tiny thing that you could do? And if overwhelm is the feeling, please reach out for support, and I'll show you on the next slide how I'll make that available. I'm so grateful to each of you for being here this evening, and I trust that our conversation isn't complete. I know that we went quickly through a lot of different ideas, tips, and possible action items, and it can be like drinking from a fire hose. So I love to stay in touch, and the good news and bad news is my brand new website, which was supposed to be launched 2 months ago, is moving at COVID pace. I can't give you the actual domain, but I'm giving you the behind the scenes. This is the construction website. All the buttons are working, and you can be the first group that gets a sneak peek at my brand new website, which is launching in 2 weeks. There are a lot of things on there that you might take comfort in to read. You might find a lot of relatability. You might find a lot of information that warms your heart or gives you hope. And so you are welcome to visit that site at liftedlid.webflow.io. Of course, that's not my real website name, but until we go live, that's the construction site. I also have 3 gifts for you for joining us today, and I'm not sure if you ladies are taking back over control or if you want me to click through on my side. I'll click through until you take over screen sharing. So there are 3 gifts that I would love to share with you for being brave enough to say yes to your healing and joining us tonight. And the first one is, I would love to give you some private one-on-one time where we can have a confidential conversation. We can do it by telephone or face-to-face in Zoom. You can even have it recorded on Zoom, and I'll send you the recording. And we can tackle anything that is on your mind or your challenge list right now around your personal happiness, your personal relationship, your grief journey, whatever you are struggling with, I'm here for you. And that session is just from my heart to you. There's more I want to give you than I could give you in tonight's workshop. The second gift that I want to give you is something called Dreamcasting. It's a 30-minute video. Don't worry if you can't grab that website. You can always send me a text, and I will gladly send you this video. It's a 30-minute video I created, and Dreamcasting is a process that will help you while you are going through your grief journey. It is a process. It's not specific to grief. It's specific to challenge. It's specific to adversity. It's mostly specific to any person who wants to build a better life and have positive thoughts instead of negative ones. This is a process that will help you sleep better, reduce nightmares, put you in a better mood, give you more optimism and hope, and give you some positive actions that you can take that will support you in designing your new normal abnormal. And you can always send me a text. I'll send it right over to you. And the final gift is, I would love to give you, if you're in a relationship, I'd love to give you any chapter you like from my book for free. Oops, go back one slide here. Absolutely any chapter from my book. There's 18 chapters in here. If you are in a partnership, this book is a tremendous way to bring the in-love phenomenon back into your relationship. And you can choose any one that you think you need right now, including all the worksheets, and I will send it to you for free. The most important thing that I want each of you to know before we open up for live Q&A is, we're here for you, I'm here for you, but I'm also asking you to be there for you. Do those things that are in support of your wellness. And it's been such a pleasure to be with you. I'm going to take my slides off so that you ladies can bring your slides on.